To meet the candidates for
I hear you.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Is this better?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, great. All right, so good feedback. All right, again, my name is Diane Slavin. I'm Vice President of the League of Voters of Huntington. I welcome you to meet the candidates for the Town of Huntington position. We have 5 candidates for the Town Council: Eugene Cook, Patrick Egan, Andres Martino, Catherine Cleary, and Johnson. Okay, senior member. Then we have 2 candidates for Town Clerk, Andrew Rea and Simon Sachs, and 2 candidates for receivers of taxes, Stacy Lucy and Jillian Dunn. Welcome, all of you, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Special thanks to the pastor and Erica West and all the members of the League of Women Voters, Voter Services Committee who have worked so hard to bring this event to you tonight. For those of you who haven't been here before, how many of you have been here before for the candidates now? Yeah, that's great. So, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. This means that we study, adopt, and advocate for political positions, but we never ever support a particular candidate or a particular political party. Our moderator tonight is Lisa Scott, who's president of the League of Women Voters, the Smith Cap, and then a Suffolk County Interleague organization. Our timekeeper tonight is Stephanie Quarles. I hope you've all received the program. In the program should be an index card on which to write questions. All questions must be phrased so that all the candidates running for a particular office can answer the question. When you've written a question to submit, raise your hand and one of our volunteers will collect them and bring them to the vetting table. We vet all of the questions that are posed to the candidates to make sure that no candidate is targeted particularly, and for content, because we want to cover as much or as many of the issues as we can in the time allotted. Because we are at a library, we have to be out of here at 9:04. Please note our videotaping policy, which all of the candidates have signed off on and will abide by. All recording must be pre-approved by the League of Women Voters, and the video must be shown in its entirety. Tonight's event will be tape recorded and posted on the League of Women's website, YouTube channel. One last comment, early voting has been enacted in New York State. All registered voters will have the opportunity to vote at a number of designated sites around the county for a period of about 10 days before Election Day. This year, it begins next Saturday, October 26th, and continues through Sunday, November 3rd. This is a New York State law, so this is in effect for every election from now on. Information about this and other goodies related to the League of Women Voters are on the table on the side of the wall. Okay, now it's my pleasure to welcome Vida Scatoro, who's Vice Chair of Huntington's Township Chamber of Commerce, who's co-sponsoring this event tonight, and she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. Thank Thank you, Diane. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Huntington for organizing this. As Diane said, I'm Lisa Scott, president of the Suffolk County League. This, just so you understand the rules of the debate that everyone's agreed to, each candidate gets 1 minute for an opening statement. It's loud. Okay, better? Yeah.
It's not clear.
It's live. All right. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is that better? Okay. Thank you. It's better. No. There's always one that says. Each candidate has 1 minute for the opening statement. As I ask the questions, we're going to rotate through round robin by office. So we have questions for the receiver of taxes, questions for the town clerk, and questions for the town council races. They get 1 minute to answer the question. The closing statements are also 1 minute. In the interest of mixing things up a bit, and because there are 5 candidates for the 2 town council seats, who may have strong opinions about different aspects of running the town, they have, and folks can hold them up, red cards. No, not you guys. No, we're not fair and equal here, sorry. Red cards mean that the person holding it will get another 30 seconds to rebut or to add to something else that's been said by one of the other candidates. I'm going to keep track. You'll get to use them 3 times, so use them judiciously. And again, I encourage people, if they still have things that they feel are really important points to make and couldn't on a particular round of questions, make sure that you include that in your closing statement. That'll be your opportunity for that as well. Diane, did we draw lots and we're going to go in order? Yes. Yep, okay. So also, we only have this mic, 1 other wireless, and 1 wired. So I apologize, but that's all that's here. So we're going to have to be passing mics around so you can hear them. But again, as Diane said, the league is videotaping, so you'll have the ability to go back and look at it online as well. Okay? So why don't we start with candidates for Huntington Town Clerk. Please take 1 minute.
Good evening. I'm New York State Assemblyman Andrew Rea, and it's been an honor to represent you in Albany for the past 17 years. I'm very proud of my record of service to the residents of the town of Huntington. The town clerk's office is not a policy-making office, it is an administrative office. And I've had the opportunity to work on many laws up in Albany that directly impact the office of town clerk, and I've seen firsthand the impact that those laws have had. I love my job in Albany, but one could argue that I've actually been learning and studying to be your next town clerk for the past 38 years. Countless dinner conversations around the kitchen table are where many of my mother's award-winning programs and services were created. I can remember being in 10th grade and actually working on a state archives grant, which helped provide funding for her award-winning archives, which we've seen on PBS, believe it or not. But as well run as my mother's office is, and I have to say that because she's sitting right there, but it's true, we can always do more. With the advent of technology, certainly we can, I look forward to talking more when we have a chance. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for sponsoring this evening. My name is Simon Sachs, and I want to be your next town clerk. I have the experience, the expertise to connect the people of our town with our town hall. I was an adjudication officer at the U.S. Immigration Office. I did over 5,000 citizenship applications. I was trained in document fraud detection. I worked in the New York State Senate under the Office of the Secretary. There, I've drafted the guidelines for mass communication, as well as online town hall, the first online town hall. I currently work at the Suffolk County Water Authority, where I implemented identity verification process to prevent fraudulent accounts from being opened. I have the experience, the knowledge, and the expertise to be your town clerk. I care about you. I've listened to you, and I'm able to move the town clerk's office into the future. And I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Okay, those were the candidates for town clerk. Now we have the candidates for town receiver taxes.
Good evening. So my name is Stacy Colamusi. I am one of the deputies in the town clerk's office. I have worked for Joanne Rea for 34 years. I am also the records administrator for the town of Huntington. I manage one of the most vital and largest divisions in the town. It's the records management program. We manage hundreds of thousands of documents from all the departments of town, including the Office of the Receiver of Taxes. These records have financial, historic, and legal value, and they're essential to the running of the government of the town. I've been endorsed by the CSEA, which is the white-collar union for the town. I've been endorsed by the Local 342, which is the blue-collar union of the town, and the Long Island Federation of Labor Unions has also endorsed me, as well as the Italian-American Political Action Committee. I would love to be your receiver of taxes. I've been administrating records for many, many, many years. I feel I'm highly qualified to do the job. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Jillian Guthman. I'm the current receiver of taxes for the town of Huntington. I'm excited to serve the town of Huntington in this top fiduciary role. I'm a lifelong Huntington resident. I'm an attorney of 24 years. In the office, I have increased efficiency with cross-training. I've gotten a higher interest rate for our money on deposit. I've expedited the processing of tax payments by the utilization of increased scanning. I have served as a resource to our residents, participating one-on-one communications, group presentations to make sure that our residents are aware of the critical information that's relevant for them. I'm working with General Services to establish a phone system that can provide critical information after hours to our residents, as well as working with I've reached out to public safety to make sure that we can address the challenges of paying taxes, which is really getting a parking spot in town hall and getting signed into the buildings. I love serving this community and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay, could I ask the people at the front table to pass their mics back to you? Okay, and we'll have the opening statements from town council candidates, starting with Mr. Cook, and then 1 minute.
Good evening. I am Councilman Eugene Cook, and I've been your council person for the past 8 years. I am very proud of everything that I've done, because I stand by the people of Huntington. Whether it was with the Seasons of Elwood, where there's 5,000 petitions, not to put the project up, I was the only no vote on that project. So these are the type of things that I do. It's now C6. I'm standing behind the residents of Huntington because that's what I believe we need to do. I'm looking forward to your support in the future, and I am hoping that you'll get out this November and vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Patrick Egan. I'm also on the town board. I'm a lifelong resident of Huntington Hospital and Local Schools. You're actually in my hometown. I'm so sorry. We have this recurring problem with me and the mics. Is this good enough? Yeah. Okay. I apologize for not speaking loud enough. I'm not new. I'm not familiar with this, okay? Speaking with a mic is very uncomfortable. I'm used to being a representative of the people, with the people, whether it's 5G, whether it's overdeveloped, Philadelphia, C6, Indian Hills Golf Course. I'm here tonight because I feel being underrepresented as constituents. I feel that as fantastic as the board does at times, the community's voice is not heard. So I'm here to be that liaison for you, and I'll wrap with that. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Andre Sorrentino, and I'm running for town board. First of all, thank you for having me here tonight. I really appreciate that. I'm running for town board for one reason only. I want to support everybody in my town. I want to be here for them. I want to be the guy who answers the phone. Obviously, we've got to get a new direction here, and I'm in. I would like to be the one person on the town board that runs for Huntington, and that's it. I want to be your guy. Please support me. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Kathleen Cleary, and I'm also running for the Huntington Town Board. I've lived on Long Island my entire life. I've been in East Northport for 21 years, where my husband Brian and I are raising our 15-year-old daughter, Kate. I've spent 25 years as a contract manager for various Fortune 100 companies. I've successfully worked with difficult people under trying circumstances. I've managed multi-million-dollar contracts and been responsible for budgets and staff, and always coming in budget and within all of my guidelines. I'm a problem solver, and what I love to be able to make solutions, and that was what I was very good at my career, and I've always made all my government contract targets. What I plan on doing is working to protect our water, safety water, drinking water, environment, and open space preservations. I've worked at New York State as a horticulturist for the parks, and I've also am a master gardener for Cornell Cooperative. I have worked on flooding issues, restoration issues, and I know that I have the skill set, experience, and temperament to be an excellent town council person. Thank you.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters and also the Huntington Chamber of Commerce for having me here. I'm so glad to see so many people came out on a rainy night. My name is Joan Serval, and I was elected to the Huntington Town Board just about 1 year ago. I came into the job with 16 years of executive level Huntington government experience, preceded by 18 years in the private sector. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Huntington, graduate of Huntington High School. During my years in government, I have been very involved in solving problems and advancing important initiatives. We have a lot of, if there's one thing I've learned over the last year is there's been a lot of talking. We have a lot of issues out there, and everybody's talking, but they're not really communicating. We're talking on social media, we're talking to each other, and we need to come together to solve some of these problems. They're still outstanding. And I really believe that I have all the right stuff to help move us forward, to help get us into some forums. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you more.
Pass the mics back to those in the front. Gentlemen, one of you pick the mic. Thank you. Okay, thank you. The way we're going to run it now is we will do the questions for town clerk first. Okay? Then, when we've exhausted our list and the ones that have been submitted, we'll go to the receiver of tax questions. And then we will do the town council. Okay? But the closing statements will again go in order. All right? So let's start with you gentlemen, and this time we will start with Mr. Sachs. Flip back and forth. So Mr. Sachs, what do you see as the role of the town clerk?
The role of the town clerk is to connect people of our town with our town hall. The position requires communication and being able to take the knowledge or the understanding of what people are asking for and being able to provide that. I want to provide a positive customer experience where it's seamless. So we need to move our town hall into an online format where licenses, renewal of licenses, online town halls, those technologies that are available that are cost effective can basically serve you better. It is about you, the residents, and it is about you having your voice heard and having your requirements met by the town capable of doing that.
Thank you. Mr. Ray, same question. I ask you now to hold your applause until we do the closing statements, okay?
Thank you. Actually, the town clerk's office is 5 different jobs. You're the secretary of the town board, the licensing agent for the state of the town, registrar of vital statistics, records management officer, and the town's marriage officer. I have substantial experience with many of those different aspects of the office. In fact, I've been performing wedding ceremonies as a state assemblyman since January, both same-sex and not same-sex. So it's really been a pleasure. I've watched my mother dealing with this office day in and day out for many, many years. I've watched her come home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning after a very long town board meeting, where she then tells me what happened and what her office had to do to get things ready and filed. It's been a life experience for me. 38 years. She was elected when I was in 8th grade. I'm now 51. Her office is very well run. I will agree with Simon. As technology evolves, certainly we can keep up with that. And I have a plan for that. Maybe we can discuss that during the next round.
Okay, thank you. And you know, we will stick with it. Remember, we're going back and forth. There are questions, will come in. So, Mr. Rea?
Yes.
Be more specific about the qualifications needed to do the job of town clerk moving forward into the next 4 years.
Sure, the town clerk is, as I said, not a policy position. It's an administrative position. It's very important that you have a public servant performing those duties, somebody that the public has trusted 9 times. 9 separate times you've sent me to Albany, out of the public view, fighting for you, bringing home important resources to help revitalize the town. I'm in a unique position because I've worked on the laws in Albany that directly impact the town clerk's office, but I've also worked with the town clerk on many of those laws. My phone rings all the time. In fact, up in Albany, people joke when we're talking about a law that, a bill that affects the town clerk's office, and they all come to me because they want to know what the town clerks feel about this particular piece of legislation. So I have that experience and that trust, and really the town clerk's office is the holder of some of your most vital records, and we will talk about that in the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sachs.
Thank you. The town clerk's office is the cornerstone of our democracy. It is our means to represent ourselves, and we need the technology and the tools which are available, cost-effective, to basically do that and provide a voice. When I was in the New York State Senate, we did online town halls. We were about 8 or 10 years ahead of what people are doing now. We can hear more voices, and those voices with information can bring that to the people who make decisions. That's very important. We all want to feel that our voices are heard, and we all want to feel that when we apply for a license or renew a license, that we can do that in an efficient manner and that we have a positive customer-friendly experience. I think I can provide that. I spent a year at Harvard studying ethics and government. I went to Syracuse University, and I also have a law degree from City University of New York. I think all those things have caused me to be a public servant and want to be an innovative public servant. And again, I think that's where our town hall is moving.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sachs, we'll start with you on this one. Again, looking forward, let's take a different angle. Young people. How does the clerk's office get involved at all with young people? Are there special projects? Are there initiatives that, if elected town clerk, you would be interested in pursuing?
Yeah, I have 3 children, a son in college and a daughter in Walden High School and a daughter in Stimson. I look at their future, I look to see what their future is going to bring and how they can get involved. One of the things I'd like to implement if I'm the town clerk is to have an adopt a Huntingtonian. I think it's really important that people of our town kind of learn the stories of the people in our town. We have such great people with such great stories. Think about all the veterans who served and fought for our town and have stories and related to that. Think about the senior citizens who also have stories to tell that our young people can learn from. And I think we should take our young people and kind of adopt our people with stories and have that as a video archive. That's one of the things I'd like to implement as town clerk, and I think people will understand the depth and how special our town is.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, any question?
Well, first off, when your child is born, your town clerk actually signs the birth certificate. So they start very early on dealing with the office. My mother over the years has hired countless young people to renew disability parking permits, commuter parking permits. She actively tries to get the youth involved in their government before they're even out of high school. That's something I've done in the Assembly as well through many interns. I would like to see that tradition certainly continue because it gives our young people a head start. Anybody that's been in town hall knows that you have the panels in which twice a year or so our town clerk recognizes the various aspects of our town. Most recently was honoring the long history of volunteer firefighters in the town of Huntington. So I look forward to bringing even more people, more young people into the office and exposing them to their government.
Okay, you know, don't get too comfortable. Hopefully you can both answer this question if you disagree with me. It says, how many people work for the town clerk's office? And again, looking forward 4 years or so with technology, do you anticipate that number going up, going down, different skill sets?
Right now, 15, including the town clerk. Most of those positions are civil service positions. Over the years, they've cut a number of positions in the town clerk's office. The town board has. Quite honestly, she needs more people because as the town grows, as the job of town clerk is very different from 38 years ago compared to today. They now the town clerk's office operates under 20 different state and local laws. As I mentioned before, I have vast experience with those state laws and how it impacts the town clerk's office. So, now I just lost my train of thought, but in any event, that's it.
Mr. Sachs.
Yeah, I think there are 15 people in the town clerk's office. I think 11 of them are women. I think a $1.9 million budget. The question really for the town clerk's office is, are you serving the people of the town? Are you connecting voices? Are the people getting the services that are passed in the laws from the people of the town? I think those are the questions that come up as we look towards the future with technology, which I'm all for and all in favor of. It's also about whether the people who are using the technology understand how to use it and whether or not the technology is serving you, the residents. That's what I did when I was at the New York State Senate. We looked at it for the whole of New York State. We worked on constituent services. We worked on basically intake. Those are the kinds of issues that you, the town, expect from town hall. And therefore, I think as we move into the future and with the new role of the town clerk, I think I'm very well versed in that.
Okay, big state. What do you see as the biggest challenge for you if elected? What is the biggest challenge you're going to face right away?
Linda Schulman, who endorses me, Scott in Parkland, she said, just tell them, give me a chance, and if you don't think I'm doing a good job, vote me out. I think that's the challenge of every politician and every person that's running for office. You're responsible, I'm responsible to you, the people, not to anybody else. That's why the town clerk has that title or that position, because the records of the town are being kept. They have to be kept with someone with an independent judgment, someone who can act in the best interest of the town. And I think that what we need to be able to do is be able to say to you year after year, day after day, week after week, that we are listening to you, we're with you, and we know what you're thinking. That's what a public servant is supposed to do.
Mr. Ray?
Quite honestly, the biggest challenge to the town clerk's office is the town board. Anything that the town clerk wants to do as far as money is concerned has to go through the town board. We've talked a lot about modernizing and being able to do online purchases for many of the services that the town clerk offers. The problem is the town clerk's office needs a new computer program that the town board has yet to give her. So we can't do any of this until we get the necessary resources in the town clerk's office. So I will continue my mother's long tradition of lobbying the town board for those things that make the town clerk's office a better and better place each and every year.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Mr. Ray referenced this before, but in many jurisdictions throughout the country, the town clerk's office or the clerk's office in general has refused or impeded same-sex marriage ceremonies and asked people to go elsewhere. You referenced it before. Could you just give everybody your position on that? And particularly, I believe in the town of Huntington, Valentine's Day is a big day for weddings.
Sure, actually, I've already done Valentine's Day weddings with my mother this past time.
Not to each other.
No, not to each other, jointly, because I am, under New York State law as a state assemblyman, I am allowed to perform marriages. I've already done same-sex marriages. You know, I guess this is in reference to, in 2011, we voted on same-sex marriage in New York State. I find it ironic that President Obama didn't support same-sex marriage until 2012, and Senator Clinton, well, Secretary of State Clinton, didn't support same-sex marriage until 2013. Why is it that only Democrats can evolve on major issues, but Republicans can't? I've had the opportunity to work with LGBT issues. In fact, my last candidacy for the State Assembly, I was endorsed by the LGBT network, their political arm. So I look forward to continuing to work with everybody in New York State and in the town of Huntington and treat them fairly.
Thank you. Mr. Sachs?
I guess I'm happy, but a little bit disappointed also because during the same-sex marriage issue or debate, I was working for Senator Owen Johnson in Babylon. I watched it go down, and I watched the difficulty of getting that legislation passed. It is required that if you vote against legislation, that you distance yourself from that legislation and basically create an affirmative environment, which is what I will provide. I want to provide a town clerk's office that's inclusive, where people are feeling that they can come and they're welcome there. It's very difficult if you voted against same-sex marriage to then have a town hall that doesn't welcome that, and you have to act affirmatively. And in my first day in office at the town clerk's office, I will create an affirmative act of making sure we have inclusion such as for same-sex marriage and all marriages.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacqueline. And we'll move on to receiver of taxes questions now. And again, as you open, then Ms. Scott, you will go first now. First question. And that is, what do you see as the most important qualifications needed for a receiver of taxes, and why?
Well, I think I'm uniquely qualified for this position as an attorney of 24 years. It provides me with a tremendous foundation to be astute to the laws of New York State, to make sure that we are executing the collection and distribution process exactly as expected of us, as well as making sure that our contracts that are part of our operation are in our best interest, looking at every component of the tax collection process to make sure that there's full integrity. We're subject to audit. Our audits have been fabulous, if I may say, and I look forward to continuing that stellar level of representation right here in Huntington.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Colamucci.
Yes. Well, I think that accountability, fiscal responsibility, I have those traits. I've been working for the town for 34 years. I know everything about the town of Huntington government. I'm known as a doer. I would really like to get things done. I don't think that you need to be an attorney to be the receiver of taxes. The two receivers for the past 60 years were not attorneys. We have a town attorney to review our contracts and to make sure that everything is in line. I think that it will be really important for me to get some things done in that office that haven't been done. We need to expedite payments and get the deposits put in quicker, get more interest. I would like to set up satellite locations where tax payments can be made. Parking in town hall is absolutely horrendous. Credit card fees need to be reduced. My opponent said last year that she would do that. It hasn't been done, so I will do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You can stay up if you don't want to do that. If elected, what is the first thing that you think is achievable that you're going to do, and how will you do it?
The first thing that's achievable is to utilize the scanning that's available in the office today that's not being fully utilized. The payments that are made sit for weeks in the office. That is a loss of interest to the town of Huntington. I think that the payments can be processed a heck of a lot faster, lines can be reduced, and the lines are long. I work across the hall. They're down the hall, through the lobby, out the door, after they come through public safety. Doesn't have to do with arriving early or scanning in to the building. The lines are very long. So if we can utilize that technology to get it in, I also think the technology can be upgraded, but utilize what's there currently, and I don't think that it is. So that would be the first thing that I would do.
Ms. Guthman?
I'm very proud of my record during my tenure, 2 years as receiver of taxes, of increasing the speed by which we're processing payments with increased utilization of scanning. It's clearly an achievement. Going forward, the biggest challenge that we have for our residents coming in to pay their taxes is the parking, which is deplorable at Town Hall, very limited, as well as the process that we have coming through that long vestibule to go through the security. Security is important. Our public safety employees are wonderful. The reality is that we just need to work together with those departments to make sure that that process is streamlined and it's not so arduous to get through.
Okay, thank you. Next question here, okay, is what does it cost to run a receiver of tax office, and would you like to get more money, or do you think you'll be able to cut expenses?
Well, I would say I'm fiscally very prudent in my personal life as well as in my role in government. I have a record of saving money in the previous roles that I've had. Village attorney for Hempstead, saving $500,000 per year in legal fees. In Huntington, as the Director of Human Services, concurrently with being the town's EO officer and labor trainer, saved considerable money. Our main cost in the department is our salaries. We would be benefited tremendously if there was a commitment from the town board to give us some more money so that we can improve technology. That would be wonderful. We have great staff, we have great output, we're expanding what we do in the office, and we are making an impact, but we can always rise to do more. The commitment for the people in the office and myself is there. We will continue to serve at the highest level.
Thank you. Well, as I've said several times, I've been with the town for 34 years, so I've had 34 years of budget preparation and management of those budgets. There's 4 in the town clerk's office. I have written 7 or 8 grant applications. I helped Joanne Ray. I was hired to build a records management program that has received many awards, as has been mentioned. Those grants I personally wrote with Joanne Ray at authored them, and we have received funding in excess of $250,000. So we have built a program from the ground up, literally from scratch. So I think that I'm also good at saving money. The technology in the office, again, is not being utilized. That is there today. Things can always be improved, but there are really good systems in place, and they need to be used to better. So lines are long, nothing to do with coming in to the security and nothing to do with public safety. There's just 1,000 people a day that come in to pay their taxes.
Okay, and last question, very quickly. There are extra fees for paying by credit cards, but credit cards, of course, keep people out of the bad parking and out of the lines and everything else. Is there any possibility of reducing that fee so it's more attractive to people who have a hard time paying the extra?
Yes, well, you asked me what the first thing I would do was, and I said that would be the second thing I would do. So we have a third-party company that we use. So other towns have reduced that fee. It's a credit card fee. It's not a fee that the town imposes. So find another company. So we should be able to reduce those rates. We should. That's what I would work on.
Okay, Ms. Guthman?
credit card fees, not borne by the town. Yes, there is a fee associated with utilization of credit card payments. There are mechanisms by which we could reduce that, and I am working towards that. If we reduce the scope of credit cards that are utilized, we could reduce a small fraction of a percent as to what's being utilized. The reality is the role of receiver of taxes is a tremendous job. The obligation is the collection of our tax warrant, which is $1 billion, and the extensive reporting that is associated with it. So there are always opportunities to improve and to do more. And that's something that I'm always committed to. But fundamentally, at the core, is making sure that the essential necessities of the job, what we are mandated to do under the law, that is achieved. Yes, I will certainly work towards reducing credit card fees. It's not something that the town makes not a cent on it. We're incentivized to be as fiscally conservative as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we'll go on to, we're going to do the closing after everything.
That's all my questions?
That's all your questions. Five of them. Gentlemen, could you pull that mic out of the stand? It's wired, so I don't know how many of you can use it. Okay. Can you reach it? It comes down this way? Yeah. Okay, and basically share that mic and, sorry, I'd like to hang on to this if possible. So, Mr. Cook, actually, you don't go first. Mr. Deegan, the first question will come to you, and we'll round robin it again. Remember, you have one red card. I'll keep track, but to use it 3 times, if you wish, to rebut for 30 seconds after every move's on round on that particular question.
What did you say time? What's the question?
30 seconds. It just gives you a chance to add that one in if you need it. So, Mr. Deegan, starting with you, what do you think are the 2 most pressing problems facing our town? How do you think you can help address or solve these problems?
All right, I think there's one problem that resonates above all others right now. We have arguments within the town because of partisan politics. There's no way around that. Left versus right allows for no dialogue. Okay, so unless we can somehow come together as a community and put together national political differences, we're not moving forward. There's no discussion that's going to happen, and we will never, ever come to any compromise. So unless we can first overcome that, and there's a reason we need to overcome that. The second biggest issue that I feel is affecting the town, you're hearing it's water quality. And it's not just the water we drink, it's not the water we bathe in. It affects the land and the soil and the air. This is going to have a drastic effect on our values of our homes, quality of life, and the health of our families. So that's why.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sorrentino, same question?
Well, I'd like to concentrate. Big problem we all have and everybody wants to address it is building is one. I'd like to get to the bottom of that and see, unless we have a lot of apartments, everybody that I talk to, the thousands of doors that I've knocked on, that's a big issue. I'd like to address that, obviously. On water, we go to the beaches. My kids can't go to the beach because the beaches are closed. I have 2 little children. We had to get a pool because they couldn't go to the beach right around the corner from my house. So that's an issue I want to get to the bottom of too. Improving water quality. Obviously safety. Safety's a big issue, working with public safety. Huntington Station, I could go on more. Revitalization of Huntington Station we talk about. I'd like to do that. I'd like to be a part of that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cleary?
Yes, so the 2 things that I keep hearing at the doors are our environment and development. So our environment is the water quality, the water we drink, and the water that is we have runoff on our waterfronts. We need to be mindful. We have to make sure that we're protecting our water. We get to enjoy so much of this beautiful waterfront that we are have in our possession, but we need to protect. And the same thing with water quality. We have to be mindful of that. We have a lot of nitrogen blooms and algae blooms, and that is kind of sort of tied to development. When we have overdevelopment or development that's not thinking of our environment, is that is causing more of the problems. We know that sewers could be helpful, but that is a huge expense, and it can't be put in all parts of towns of Huntington. So we have to monitor our development and look to see what we're doing with the water runoff, and doing some redesigning, such as bioswales and rain gardens is a really great, non-expensive tip.
Okay, Ms. Searle?
Yes, by far, I think the greatest challenge we face is balancing environment with economic development. They're not mutually exclusive. We find that we have controversy when they're out of balance. So, for example, when we talk about development, our progress is outstripping, in pace-wise, our infrastructure, available infrastructure. So when people are unhappy about development, mostly they're talking about lack of parking, they're talking about concerns about wastewater treatment, they're talking about garbage and other supports that we need. So we really have to get everything in line. We have to figure out a way to move things if we have to pause on development to ramp up the infrastructure, that's what we have to do. But we have to start also talking to each other about these things and not at each other. I'd like to form some working groups of all the stakeholders who are involved. We've heard a lot of voices this year, and I think we're not going to be able to solve anything without consensus. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Yes, the number one thing that's so pressing right now is the libel lawsuit. The tax increase that will happen to us very soon, if we're not fighting this full force, will be major and devastating to all of Huntington, not only just Northport Village. The second thing is health and water. We have some major issues in Northport and with our water. We hear it every day in Newsday and in papers. There's issues where now some water authorities are looking to buy water from New York City and have it piped across. These are major issues. We have issues with all sorts of health aspects that we're all a little bit off on. We look at these things and some major diseases and we're saying, what is going on here? This is what we need to concentrate on now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sorrentino, you get the next one first. What are your thoughts on large-scale projects requiring zoning changes that impact neighbors and the town in general?
Well, again, we're going back to a big building. I think we've seen quite a bit enough in the village right now. I'd like to see more being done at Huntington Station, Lockfield Road, things of those areas. Right now, I think Huntington Village, we've had enough of that right now, and I believe that we should concentrate on the revitalization of Huntington Station, maybe bringing the sewers from Jericho back down to the train station, partner off with the county or the state and get involved with that.
Thank you. Ms. Cleary.
Overdevelopment and what's a large-scale project. So yes, Huntington Station, everyone knows that we feel we have too much development in there. We cannot handle another large-scale project. But there are other parts, and also in Southport, right along the 25A corridor, that we can't handle any more there too. But there are other areas in Huntington. What we need to do is we have to look at Huntington overall and not to look at it as in pieces. And that seems to be what is happening now. What we could look at is down the 110 Melville corridor. We have commercial real estate there that isn't fully occupied, and that could be some really interesting projects, combining large-scale projects with residential, commercial, and other development.
Thank you. Ms. Zucker?
So I always say there's no one-size-fits-all solution to any problem, and development is included in that. We have areas where we're an aging suburban community. We are looking at properties now that need to be developed. We also are 90 to 95% built out, so we have open spaces that we cherish and we want to hold on to. We have a community that wants to retain our charm and our character, the reasons why people lived here. And we also have young people who are looking to join us and stay, and they're leaving. So we really have to look at each area of the town judiciously, and each project has to rise and fall on its merits or flaws. And I think that's what we need to do. So I really look at each development project separate and apart to evaluate whether or not I believe that it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Yes, I am, since I've gotten on the board, I've always looked at the overdevelopment in a big way, and that's why I stood by the people in Elwood and voted no against the seasons in Elwood. And I was the only one that did that. Recently, we've had the C6 discussion, that's what I call it, because I didn't like the law that came out, and I said absolutely not. But let's get the people out to talk about it to see what's right. I believe we should have an overlay district of an historic village area for that C6 right there and take it a little bit at a time. We will change the way this town looks if we go too far and overdevelop. And I am definitely against that, and I want to keep this town as a beautiful town that it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beaton?
This is a question, this is what brought me here. Some of you may look at me and see me familiar. I was part of the leaders of the Villadome opposition. I've also been speaking out against Indian Hills. So when it comes to big box stores, 400,000 square foot developments that threaten a community and the environment, I've been that leader. Okay? Time and time again, we've had to step up as communities, thousands of signatures, come up with our own lawn signs like it's a campaign, just to get our voice out. And that's a voice that we need heard by these representatives. So I'm stepping up here today to be that representative, not to be the person yelling in the back of the room, not arguing, no, we don't want more of this, no, we need more of that. I want to be that catalyst that you can come to that we can actually move these things forward.
Thank you. Ms. Cleary, this one's going to start with you. Most of that prior question dealt with large projects, and of course, most of the time you hear about downtown Huntington. But in large parts of not just the town of Huntington, but Suffolk County in general, you have a lot of villages that are being sort of held up there, like Patchogue, Farmingdale, which have become magnets for young people. They're also transportation focused, which is a little more difficult in Huntington Village. Can you talk a little bit about what ideas you have for other hamlets within your town of Huntington on a smaller basis to keep their downtowns vibrant, to deal with the fact that a lot of stores close because retail has moved to the internet. So retail isn't what you see. You see dog groomers and hairdressers and nail salons and personal service and restaurants. So run with the question.
So we all know that retail is facing some major changes with online purchases, but there's been some great ideas of listening about having retail having more of an experience, so it'll be different than what we're used to. What we're asking these other hamlets, the problem we have is that, so I'm from East Northport, I drive up and down Larkfield a million times a day, and there are so many stores that are closed, but the problem is that it's difficult to have them do some development because we don't have sewers in East Northport. And for instance, F.H. Riley's has been there with a sign for 3 years trying to open, but they have a problem because they have to be able to pass Suffolk County sanitation codes, and we have some issues there. So while it's great about talking about retail, but if we can't support it and can't pass anything that's required by Suffolk County, then we really need to make some changes that way too.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Serba?
So yes, we know that retail is receding in all of our downtowns, but entertainment is a boost. That's what's bringing people to Huntington Village. It's become a destination downtown. So we need to take a little bit of that magic and move it around to our other downtown hamlets. And yes, we do need sewers, but in the absence of sewers, up until we have sewers, maybe we start working to partner different types of businesses. For example, we all love books, and books are having a hard time, book reviews, holding on by a thread. Partnering that with some sort of a music venue, some small performances, or even small theater groups, just to bring people in to buy and experience entertainment at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Coker?
Yes, it's very important to keep our businesses running, and as Joan said, it is, we're more of the entertainment and restaurants now. One of the things I've been working on for the past 6 months, and I believe it'll probably be ready to launch in the next 2 months, is a art walk and alley in the art. And what I did was I removed the political end of that and let the residents and the business owners get involved with that. So if any of you get home tonight and take a look at Wynwood, Florida, you'll see what happened down there when they put some beautiful artwork in and have these walls painted and these walks going on. You'll be quite amazed, and I'm hoping that that'll be launched within the next month and a half, 2 months or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Deegan?
I like what everyone said about the sewers and things like that, and what we do for the town. But one of the big problems with small businesses is the rising cost of commercial real estate. So let's use a scenario. Let's say you own a dollar store. Think of how many units you have to sell when your rent doubles. Okay, I saw a couple of years ago a bunch of stores on Jericho go out of business for no other reason than the lease was up and the property owner doubled the cost. We're turning into a town, and with our hamlets, where it's nothing more than franchises. I know it was a good thing, and I appreciate everybody for it, but we have more ribbon cuttings for Dunkin' Donuts than we do coffee shops. We have pilot programs, we have ways of giving back to the community, but I don't see any form of service set up in a small business. So if we treated our small businesses like we did LIPO or some of these larger corporations, I think we'd be able to keep these mom and pop businesses here. I think these small businesses, in fact, add to the quality of life. If you've ever gone for a vacation somewhere, it might be Disney World or it might be the historic town. We have that historic town and we're not tapping into it.
Thank you. Mr. Sorrentino?
Well, I would like to see small businesses open back up in Huntington as well, but it's pretty hard to stay in business. Being a small business owner since I'm 20 years old, it's the hardest thing in the world to stay in business. My brother and I have been in business since 1985, and it's difficult. It's difficult to stay in business. We need to bring back businesses to Huntington. We have to offer them something to want to open up a business in Huntington. My father's been in business in Huntington since 1957. He's still there. Every day is a struggle. It's not easy signing the front of that check. It's easy to sign the back of the check, but not the front of it. So the bottom line is, we need maybe a trade school in Huntington, Melville Court, maybe get something like that, drag it back in. We need to start teaching these younger people a little bit more trade skills. College is great. I didn't go to college. My father didn't go to college, but we did just fine and we're doing just fine. The bottom line is, we need to bring things like that to Huntington. We have to offer these people to want to be in business in our town. We have over 40 stores in our village that are empty. So we have to find a reason to get them to come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Circle, this one is going to start with you. Drug addiction continues to be a serious problem. What steps would you take to alleviate addiction and the mental health issues that often accompany addiction?
Well, in 2018, along with Councilman Cuthbertson, we created the Opioid and Addiction Task Force, which is comprised of mental health professionals, alcohol and drug counselors, those who have been impacted by drug addiction, opioid addiction, to talk about what some of those issues are. And really the greatest issue is that when a resident finds themselves in a position where they or a family member is suffering, they don't know where to turn. So really it's very simple. It's just about getting resources out there, and it's also about encouraging people who have been through this to talk about it. We are going to be offering a forum that will come up to offer resources and help I believe next week. And this is something obviously we need to be vigilant and continue. It's resources and help.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin.
I believe it's all about education, and we have some major issues, and I've helped a number of families that have had an opiate drug user in the family, and it's horrendous what actually happens. Ed Smith is having a seminar, and I believe everybody should go to it if you have any issues in regards to vaping. And so it's all about education and getting out there and discussing what's going on with people, because too many of our young people are dying because of the opioids, the drugs, and now vaping, which is it's sad. So the education is the most important thing, and we need everybody to get out there and say, all right, we have somebody in the family, a younger person, let's get them to those seminars and see what we can do. Thank you.
Mr. Deaton.
Aside from the water, a few years ago, I started doing research on the opioid crisis. So I didn't tell people this at the time, but I helped the State Senate Joint Opioid Task Force find that information. I was one of the catalysts actually in moving forward fentanyl legislation several years ago. It took about a year to fight this, okay? So it's not just awareness from the community, it's awareness of what we're dealing with. There are analogs, they call them, fentanyl, which can actually be weaponized to hurt people. I know that sounds scary, but this stuff is transdermal. So it's not just so much the effect the narcotic can have on the individual that uses it, but the people in their environment, okay? Needles, things like that. I was also on the nonprofit, board of a nonprofit, where the plan was to expand addiction and rehabilitation services. We've got a lot of money coming through the state, but it's not going where it needs to be. Most of what we saw was actually going towards awareness, but that was in the form of brochures and posters. And I think it's going to take a little bit more to get somebody off of heroin than a poster that says, don't do heroin.
Well, I like to work close with obviously the Family Service League and things like that, and the county to get more people that have the problem involved from our town to help out with these young people that are involved with this. And I have worked with the county already in different aspects of this, people that have problems with drugs and addictions. I am all for it. I believe we should get something together to help these young kids.
Ms. Clear?
Yes, so we have some wonderful community groups in the town of Huntington and also in Suffolk County who really are dedicated to helping people who are suffering from this addiction and their families. One thing that we have, and as a town board, we really need to make sure that they are getting the services they need, the funding and the recognition. But what we need to realize is that it cuts across society. So we can talk about it affecting children with their teenagers, young adults, adults, and even retirees, because it cuts across all ages in society. So it can't be just one focus of one type of person who's addicted. What do we have to make sure? We do some work in schools, I know, with children, and the hospitals, but also businesses, because people who are addicted to opioids are still going to work, and that may be where they can go for help too, and not just maybe at the town center or a hospital, but it'd be important for them to recognize where the companies could be notified of resources that are available to their employees.
Thank you. Mr. Cook, we'll start with you on this one. The SALT tax deduction, state and local tax deduction on people's federal income tax has a cap now. This is going to have a major impact in the town of Huntington. People are having more trouble selling their homes. Higher priced homes are being directly affected. As real estate tax revenues are coming down. Is there a role that some action by the town board will have in helping people absorb these costs that they're running right now?
I don't believe there's any project that's going on to absorb the costs, but we are sending letters to the governor and to the federal legislators saying, hey, we need some help here. We can't do this. People are leaving New York, and there's a reason for it. We can't afford to live here anymore. People's houses were valued at a certain amount a few years ago are losing value in it because of those taxes and not having the write-offs also. So people are leaving, they're downsizing, and it needs to be taken care of. And I think the town board should be more aggressive on going out and talking to the state representatives and the federal representatives to see what they can do to ease the burden, because we're paying an awful lot of taxes, that's for sure.
Mr. Dean?
I don't get to say anything new here. I happen to agree with him. A lot of people have been doing what they call the exits in New York. I saw the SALT deductions affect my family last year. Again, I don't really know how much we can do other than step up as a community and really try and figure out how to, with lack of a better expression, lobby our state representatives.
Mr. Serling?
Well, my family pays a boatload of taxes in Huntington. We have multiple properties, and it's just very difficult for me to see my two children, I have two little girls, a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old, on how they're going to stay here if they have to pay all that tax that they're paying right now, property tax, obviously. We have to figure out something, when they build something big, like I said, maybe you could give people a break on their taxes if somebody's building a big building or these little, when someone builds 2 homes and now they went from an average tax of $20,000 and now it's $50,000, it should help us as homeowners.
Okay, thank you.
Apart from working with our state and federal representatives, we need to, as a town board, making sure that we're taking a stewardship role towards the taxes that residents pay. We need to be able to manage our tax spend efficiently. We need to be able to, I've been hearing from the people in front of us, they want more money, but they also want to be more efficient. So that is something that we really need to take a responsibility for, is that all the money that residents pay in taxes, that we take the responsibility that we spend wisely and in the manner that is the most effective for the town.
Yeah, that's a tricky one because New York State Constitution prohibits government, local government from handing out its tax dollars for tax relief or any other kind of monetary relief. And as well, we don't provide tax breaks or exemptions. That happens at the county level, that's Suffolk County IDA. So we have to get creative and think of ways to help people stay in their homes. And I was very proud earlier this year to co-sponsor a measure that allows some flexibility with accessory apartments that allows our seniors to stay and age in place in their homes, which would allow them to live in the accessory unit and rent out the larger part, as well as provide an opening for young people to be able to purchase a home, live in the accessory apartment until such time that they can afford to move into the larger unit and be able to afford to live there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deegan, we'll start with you on the next one. Regarding LIPA, can each of the candidates for town council state their position on the LIPA tax suit, and will they be willing to pledge to the voters and taxpayers that they will not cave in to LIPA and will pledge to fight LIPA's unfair settlement offers? This is from the audience.
Yes, every bit of that. I pledge to fight LIPA. I don't believe the assessed value that they're arguing is correct. I sat in many of the trials that we had over the summer. I heard the expert testimony, and I'm confused as to how they did not call another witness. The appraised value, the assessed value, which is argued, doesn't take into any consideration any possibilities of contamination. So if that's uncovered, it will cost us. Most of the assessment is tied directly into a repowering feasibility study. So if you look at one report and the other, and then you compare that with an audit, you're going to see that they need money to repower to come up and stay current with the new green laws. And they don't have the money to do that. They can't just bill all of us to come up with a new power plant, which they should have taken care of all these years. So they came up with this crafty way of questioning their tax assessment. And this has been on their table for well over a decade. They finally were able to get a judge to reverse their decision. And that's where we're at now, but I would fight that.
Thank you, Mr. Sorrentino.
Well, I think this should have been settled a long time ago from what I'm reading and what I'm learning more about it, but I like a good fight, so I would love to go back. So I have no trouble with it. So I totally would love to see this settled. It should have been settled a long time ago, but I'm ready to fight for you. I want to be the person standing next to you, not in front of you fighting. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cleary.
Yes, I pledge to fight. I live in East Northport, so my taxes will go up, where they're saying, if LIPA gets their way. But what we have to recognize is that town of Huntington isn't alone in fighting this. LIPA is looking across all of Long Island and the entire New York State and trying to do this in many communities. So what has been great in where we've gotten some activists in the community is that they've been raising the awareness, which was mind-blowing to me that people in East Northport didn't know, some didn't know about this, but there's also that people across the Long Island are getting together and saying that they're going after substations, they're going after Island Park. So this, we cannot settle, because what will happen is then they're going to use, like they're trying with Port Jefferson, they're going to use us to go after and say that, well, Northport settled, or Huntington settled, so next one, and then they're just going to look at it as everyone is just easier to run over. We need to fight it, we need to be working, we really need to be having some support from our governor, and that is where it has to come from, because it's affecting his whole state, it's not only affecting the town of Huntington.
Ms. Serba?
Yes, well, we've been fighting like the Dickens, right, Mr. Cook? We've thrown probably close to $1 million at lawyers and mediators, and we are trying to dig in with every tool that we've got to fight this. And we have initiated an appeal of the third-party beneficiary outcome there to see if we can make this issue moot, which would be the ideal circumstances. But what I do pledge to the taxpayer is that no matter what, I am not going to agree to anything that puts the taxpayer at risk. We have a partner in the school district, we have a partner in the community, and we all have to get together and look at this and understand that some of this is outside of our control and make the best possible decision that has the least impact to the community.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, well, not only do I vow to keep fighting it, but I have been fighting it hard and heavy. I'm the one that said, let's take over the plant under eminent domain. I'm the guy that went to the New York State Attorney General and filed claims against LIPA because of their practices. We have a major issue with LIPA, and the way to go out there is fight it hard and heavy. We can win, and we will win, if we're all on the same page and keep fighting. Very important, because let me give you an idea. The Long Island Power Authority in Northport is just the manager of the electric. National Grid owns that, it's a foreign company. They say in this lawsuit that the property is worth 250 of waterfront acres. It's worth $193 million. They gave it to the judge, okay? When I went in and said, take the plant under eminent domain, LIPA went back and said, oh, we made a mistake. It's worth $1.9 billion now. They are liars, they're predators, and the governor should abolish LIPA. And I have every intention to keep fighting that from now until they're gone. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Beacon,
I just
30
want to add to
seconds.
what several of the candidates said. It's not just the transformers and the substations, it's also your public rights of way and power lines. This goes so far, we don't even realize how much property basically these companies have that they're paying for use for. So I apologize for adding that, but that was important to know. Next to Northport, next to the high school, that's one of the things that was the question. It's not just their power plants, it was 4 power plants. Every legacy power plant they had on Long Island, they questioned. We're the last one. We haven't folded yet. We're putting up a decent fight. I'm a member of Concerned Taxpayers Against LIPA. A lot of information is coming out there that we didn't know from these other communities who had to fight this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sorrentino, the next one starts with you. Stormwater runoff, which results in unhealthy levels of contaminants being flushed into our area beaches, continues to be a problem, resulting in beach closings and also affecting fisheries. What has been done, and what is your ongoing plan to combat this source of water pollution?
Well, the biggest thing we need, obviously, and I see Mr. O'Reilly in the audience. Hello, Mr. O'Reilly. So we need more catch basins, obviously. We need to clean the sumps. The sumps haven't been cleaned in years. And I think if I'm up there, I will vote yes to get more catch basins, yes for more money for highway and general service. And this is what we need to keep the water. We need more catch basins on the sides of the road. Obviously, this is a big thing. When the water runs off, it goes into catch basins, not in the water, in the harbors and things like that. But I would definitely be pro that. I'm all over that. So, yes, we need more catch basins, and we need to start cleaning these sumps right away.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Clear?
To control the runoff, what we need to do is to take a look at, for instance, in Northport, we have so much, it becomes a river when we have hard rain. But if you look north of where the water is starting to come down, we can start putting in some bioswales or rain gardens, which are efficient and more of a low-cost manner. And we also need to be able to tell people about fertilizer, and that the more you fertilize people, the more quicker your lawn grows, the more you have to cut. So you want to cut that down, right? And also you need to rethink about what we're planting. So you can have turf 3 inches, rainwater will not absorb through that. But if you have native planting, which can have ton with feet of roots, you can have water to absorb that. So that's an easy, attractive, low-cost solution. The catch basins, I think maybe we do need some more. I know in my cul-de-sac, I see it flooding a little more often, and they come and clean it. It's just that 1, 2 of them cannot handle it anymore.
Thank you. Ms. Circle?
Yes, it's great to be the last one to go because I get to agree with everyone. Yes, bioswales, rain gardens, stormwater capture treatment systems, upland of our harbors, is the way to go, as well as education. We need to start talking about what we're using, as my colleagues say, fertilizers, even picking up after your dog. People don't realize all of these pollutants are finding their way into our streets and rolling into our harbors. And no one has yet mentioned our aging cesspools, which are by far the largest single contributor to nitrogen loading in our harbors. And we have to really move forward with funding for sewer infrastructure in the interim, take advantage of some of the grants that are available from Suffolk County to build these newer sewer treatment plants that will take care of it on site.
Mr. Cook.
Yes, I agree with everyone here. And Mr. O'Reilly. Mr. O'Reilly is doing some good work out there, and he's trying to get some more money. He has a good plan to get something. I think it's going to work for all of us. Some of the things that I like are the single-family home sewage treatment plants. And I believe that we should change the law so that if a person's going to do a 50% renovation to their home or something, make it mandatory for these cesspools to be part of it. It's not a huge expense, but everything helps. And we have to be careful. Just recently, the past week, we put out, I think it was it 2.3 million oysters and clams in the harbor to help us with the nitrogen. So we're working on that. And the governor's been trying to come down here to talk about it. But these are some of the things that we're working on, and it's a priority. It's absolutely a priority. Thank you.
Would you mind repeating the question again? I know a fair amount about this.
Sure. Stormwater runoff, which results in unhealthy levels of contaminants being flushed into our area beaches, continues to be a problem, resulting in beach closings and affecting fisheries. What's been done? What's the ongoing plan? And what do you recommend?
Okay, this is something I actually had some involvement with. I was familiar with what's been going on in Mill Pond and Centerport. We had a lot of foam coming up in the water, and they were saying it was sea foam. This, in my opinion, is a direct result of runoff. It's possibly the PFOAs and PFASs. We've had the DTC come in several times, but they haven't tested the foam, they've only tested the water. Okay, I agree again with what everybody else said with bioswales, with how we need to clean out the catch basins. Currently, we have, I believe, it's over 500 catch basins owned by the town of Huntington. A fair amount of them are failing. And what I mean by failing is the Department of Transportation has guidelines to operate these. They were set up in areas to allow for water to recharge and replenish our aquifer. So if you've ever seen a sump holding water, it's broken. Not only is it broken, but it's holding bacteria, algae, and any kind of contamination you can imagine. I saw one, it seemed like antifreeze floating in. Now, if that's what's recharging our groundwater, and then we've got excess runoff happening at the shores, we've basically created a complete loop. And without scaring anybody, there is something called phytoremediation. Bioremediation is a natural effects that can actually feed off the toxins. So it's not, we're lost, we just have to do something soon.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cleary, you're going to start with the next one? Yeah. Huntington is a very diverse township. And not only in Huntington, but in many areas, there is an expanded ICE and Homeland Security presence. Given the administration's position and obsession, as the card says, with rounding up immigrants, what's happened is community policing seems to be less accepted. People are afraid of encountering any law enforcement people. How would you deal with it? How would you collaborate on other levels in our county to create a sense of community bonding rather than community fracturing in these areas?
Well, we're really lucky that we have some great community groups that are going out, immigrant-focused community groups, and they do have relationships with the Suffolk County Police. So I know that they're working together and they have monthly meetings. If there was some specific instance that I would think that needs to be improved, I'd be all for bringing them together into town hall and discussing ways to improve it and make people feel more comfortable.
Okay, Ms. Circle?
So Suffolk County has done a reasonably good job of deploying minority officers into the community, and it's not enough. Not even enough was our earlier this year endeavor to assist women, Latino women, and any woman in Huntington Station who needed free mammography services to avail themselves of these potentially life-saving services They were too afraid to come out to the mammography van in a church parking lot. So we have a problem. And it's a shame that we could not attract people to the van. So what we really need to do is message to the community loud and clear that we are Huntington. We are not we are not a part of the rhetoric at the national stage, and slowly start, getting the confidence of the community. And also we have to work with these community groups that know where to go and how to reach into the community. And also I was proud to co-sponsor the creation of the Anti-Bias Task Force, which is also chipping away at this issue as well.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Yes, I'm very proud of what we're doing. Recently, this past year, I sat down with the police and the Hispanic community in Huntington, and the police were saying we're having a problem because they don't trust us. We are walking down, they run away from us, they don't want to talk to us. So what we did was we put a big PAL soccer league together with the local police, and there's a PAL police league that came in to help us out. And we gave them Matterfield Park. 250 children got free soccer lessons. And let me tell you, it brought the community and the police together. And I was there the other day when you saw kids running up and hugging police officers. It's a great way of getting started, and we have to use our children to get that done so that we can have a good community and say, not all police are bad, not all immigrants are bad. Let's work together and get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
I'm sorry, I want to make sure I answered the question that was asked. Could you please, it had to do with rounding up and ICE, correct?
Well, it started with the fact that, due to the fact that there's an increased presence, not just in Huntington, but throughout Suffolk, that we've seen of ICE and Homeland Security.
I'll stick to Huntington though. We've seen increased presence over a couple of years. There were actually some roundups that happened at some bars, some actual establishments were closed down. As far as being run out of town, that is essentially what happened with the last day laborer site. There wasn't really any plan for it. There was discussion of it, but it was more of an eradication. Some community members felt it was an eyesore, a public safety issue. Question of loitering came up, but we don't really have anything on the books for loitering. How do we deal with the national argument on a town level is the real question here. We have public safety, we've got certain codes that we can enforce, but essentially I think we need some kind of community service and outreach program. So I was asked at the time a couple of weeks ago when this started to emerge again, yo hablo español un poco. So I went down there and I started speaking to some of the people, and I actually went to the outreach programs as well. I think if we combine these different services, we as a municipal corporation don't have to solve the answer, but it can be organically solved from the community itself.
Thank you. Mr. Sargent.
Well, as far as the police departments go and the community presence, I run Turkey Drive every year. For the last 10 years. I started 10 years ago. I was blessed to have a child and I wanted to give back to our community. So I started a turkey drive with some friends. Anybody that's been to one of my turkey drives knows it's for the community. So what do? Last year I gave out 2,660 turkeys to the community of people in need. What I did is I went to the Suffolk County Police Department, sat down with the inspectors at the time, 9 years ago, and said, you know what, this might be a good idea for you guys to get involved with me on this turkey drive. So for the last 9 years, I show the community that the cops, the police, the first responders, they're all good. And if you come to one of my turkey drives, anybody in this room that wants to come to my turkey drive and give back to the community, not just Huntington, Northport, you name it, every food pantry, I packed them with turkeys and I got the community involved. And what we did is show the community that the police presence at my turkey drive is okay, and for, at least for the holidays, they understand it's all right.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I think everybody's gone on that one, yes. We're going to do the closing statements now, okay? What we're going to do is do them by office again, and whoever was second before will start now. So Mr. Sachs, you have a minute to sum up. Do your sales pitch.
Thank you. When I was a education officer about 19 years ago, I would sit and listen to the stories of people who wanted to become citizens. They would be coming from different countries, from all over the world, and they would tell them why they would be wanting to be a citizen. I would interview them. And when listening to them, as I was ready to start a family, I heard of what they were looking for was something like our town of Huntington. And I really felt that this was the place to move to because this is what people from around the world are looking for. They're looking for a town like our town of Huntington. I pledge that if I'm elected as town clerk, that I will create a environment, which is what I hear from when I knock on doors, inclusive, accessible, and financially responsible, and I will bring that to the town clerk's office. This is what you, the residents, want. We want to all move into the future together. We have technology to do that, and let's do that. Vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the league. I'd like to thank my opponent. We run a great race this year. Every day we hear about data breaches and your private information being exposed. The town clerk's office is the holder of some of your most vital records: your children's birth certificates, your marriage license, your parents' death certificates. I've been elected 9 times, and I've been given that trust by the voters of the town of Huntington to represent them in Albany. I'm proud this year to be represented by 5 different political parties, crossing the entire spectrum, because they know the town clerk's office is not a policy-making position. It is an administrative position, and they have put their trust in me because they see how I reach across party lines year after year. I'm also endorsed by the Long Island Federation of Labor, but I'd like to close with this. There is a woman in this audience that sat on the stage numerous times. She's dedicated the better part of 38 years to serving the residents of the town of Huntington. I would very much, in addition to voting for me, I would very much like everybody to give our current town clerk, Joanne Ray, a round of applause for her 38 years of dedicated service. It's been an honor to represent you in Albany for the past 17 years. It would be a privilege to continue serving you in Town Hall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And good luck to both of you. Ms. Guthrie, your closing statement.
Huntington is a premier town. We have a tax warrant in excess of $1 billion every year. 60 years ago, no, we didn't have an attorney serving as the receiver of taxes. But we are in the 21st century, and we need a professional fiduciary in this role. This is not a clerical position. I am an attorney of 24 years. I'm a former Suffolk County Assistant District Attorney, where I fought crime, prosecuted theft, fraud. I'm a former Deputy Town Attorney for Huntington. I'm a former Village Attorney, former Director of Human Services. I'm excited to be in the tax office, keeping the line short. I'm happy to connect residents with the exemptions that make their taxes a little bit more affordable, help them have the tools to be able to assess their taxes and whether or not they should grieve. I'm passionate about this town, I'm passionate about serving, and I ask for your support November 5th. Thank you.
Well, I will say again that I have 34 years of experience of administering records. I'm a 35-year resident of the town of Huntington. I've raised 4 children here in Harborfield, actually, 3 of whom are triplets. I haven't seen, and one other. I'm very organized. I haven't seen much improvement in the receiver's office in a long time. I say it before I work across the hall. I think that things can be taken care of, and so I would just like to tell you that I think we need to set up satellite offices all over town that people can make their payments at. Credit card fees need to be reduced, and I would be willing to work very hard to do that. We need a Spanish-speaking clerk in that office. So it's very nice to use somebody else in the building, but if that person is at lunch, on vacation, on break, or doing their own job, it's not efficient. We need someone in the office. The town clerk's office, we have 2. So that's really wonderful. Also, there's no voicemail system whatsoever. I would do that.
Okay, what we're going to do for the close for the town council, I would have loved to have gone through at least 10 more questions we have, but the library is very adamant about closing time. And you need the possibility of speaking to these candidates on your own if you want for the last 10 minutes. So Ms. Sertle, you would close first, then we'll do the look the way we did, so you would be last.
Okay, my opening, and I got cut off because I'm not known to be short-winded. I told you I had all the right stuff for this job. What does that mean? It means that I have a unique blend of experience. I've been a businesswoman, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I've taught college classes, I've written books. I have deep executive government leadership experience. I have elective experience. I know where we've been, and I have ideas of where we can go, and I'm not done yet. And although I've done many great things in my life, I have to say the best thing that I ever have done is working for you, and I would like to continue working for you, and I promise to be accessible, responsive, and all the things that I am proud to be known for as your town councilman. So please give me a chance to keep moving forward and vote for me on November 5th.
I want to thank you all for coming out, the League of Women Voters, the Chamber of Commerce. It is my pleasure to serve you. I will want to serve you one more term, and that's what I'm hoping you will like me to do. I've always stood by the people, each and every one of you, whether it was somebody that came in that had an issue that needed to be taken care of through the office that we could do right away, or standing by big development and looking out for the people. This is a beautiful town. I think everyone here will agree to that it is. Everyone here has good ideas, and everyone here should be respected for just standing up to try to get in. It is a difficult job, very hard, and you need people with experience and leadership. I have stood by you for 8 years, and I will continue to do so. God bless you all, and thank you.
I want to thank all of you and all of them. I noticed something while being up here, that most of the issues affecting the town and most of our ideas, in fact, are the same. We don't have the opportunity to pick and choose between what we're going to deal with. We've got water issues, we've got gangs issues, we've got quality of life issues, we've got overdevelopment issues. I think what you, as a community, get to decide is who's going to best represent you in that position. I have a background, I have a resume, I've been in business, and I don't think any of that's important right now. I don't think you need a leader. I think you need a yes man for you, a lobbyist for the people, somebody with no strings attached, and somebody that's actually going to listen to you and then go to the various departments and agencies and make sure that can happen. I'm going to give you back the rest of your time, but thank you very much for the experience.
Thank you again for having 2 little girls. This is the Women League of Voters. I'm happy to be here. My 3 ladies are home waiting for me, so I'm more than proud to be standing here to represent our great town. I'm a director of general service. I've been on the inside. I know what everything needs. I've been plugging away at it with the town board now for almost 2 years. So I see the things that need to be fixed in our town, and I want to be there for you. I'm an elected fire commissioner. I have an ear to the streets on that as well, so I'm well-rounded for this job. So please, support me if you may. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
So we're each here, want to make sure that our families, our environment, our town is protected. And what we need and want clean roads, safe streets. We want to make sure we have a good environment, safe water, and a great place for our kids to grow up in, or for us to stay and retire in. And we expect to have access to our elected officials, and we expect that our voices are to be heard. We have great ideas. I've been hearing them all as I've been knocking on all the doors for the last 6 months. But what we need to be able to work together as residents and the town board to make this community even better than it is right now. And I don't think that some of our ideas are getting or being heard at this level by everyone. But I will promise you that I will listen to you and work for you. I am a resident of this community, and I know we are great and we can be better. We can work together, we have fantastic ideas and so much energy. I'm going to bring fresh ideas, clear eyes to the council. I've already told you about my background, but I want to make sure that you vote for me, Kathleen Cleary, on November 5th. Or if you want to try something out new this year, you should vote early, starting Saturday on the 26th. Thank you.
On behalf of the women voters of Huntington, who do a lot of good work in your community, again, I'd like to thank all of you for coming. In today's world, a lot of debates don't go smoothly. You guys have been really wonderful.